Gopidana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopidana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachare Yamuna Tira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madha Radha Madha Radha Madha Jaya Panchatattva 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 Jaya Nrisimhadev Jai Prahlada Maharaj Nrisimhadev Prahlada Maharaj Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Haribol, 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 Nitai Gora Haribol. श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन यज्ञ की जय, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, स्वयं भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, स्कंद गुरु वृंद की जय, समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय. All glories to the assembled devotees. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna. So, we are reading chapter 4 of the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya. And today is text 29. Before saying anything, I wanted to ask for blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas. We have many senior Vaishnavas, Srila Prabhupada disciples, and others. So please bless me so that I could say something meaningful and not too boring. Normally, in European tradition, it's customary to start with some joke, and in Asian tradition, it's customary to start with apology. So I wanted to apologize because I'm from Russia, so Russia is Euro-Asia combined together. So I wanted to apologize that some of my jokes will be Russian. Maybe not so easy to understand, but I'll warn you ahead of time when you have to laugh. Hare Krishna. So, we begin by offering our prayers to Guru Gauranga, Vaishnavas, and the Supreme Lord. Om Agyantimirandasya Gnanjana Shulakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanyamana Bhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhutay Mahatprema Provibur Nirmaya Kshatiramusha Purusha Bhungte Gunan Sada Sasada Satmaka Yalang Krishishta Bhagavan Vachamsi Me Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya śrī-śuka uvāca brahma-śāpāpadeśena brahma-śāpāpadeśena kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ saṁhṛtya sva-kulaṁ sphītam saṁhṛtya sva-kulam sphītam tyakṣyan deham acintayat tyakṣyan deham acintayat śrī Śukadeva brahma-śāpāpadeśena kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ saṁhṛtya sva-kulam sphītam tyakṣyan deham acintayat. Please. Śrī Śukadeva tyakṣyan deham acintayat Śrī Śukadeva brahma-śāpāpadeśena kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ saṁhṛtya sva-kulam sphītam tyakṣyan deham acintayat.
Śrī Śukadeva brahma-śāpāpadeśena
brahma-śāpāpadeśena
kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ saṁhṛtya sva-kulam sphītam tyakṣyan deham acintayat.
Śrī Śukadeva
kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ
kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ
saṁhṛtya sva-kulaṁ sphītam
saṁhṛtya sva-kulaṁ sphītam
tyakṣyan deham acintayat
tyakṣyan deham acintayat. Brahma-śāpāpadeśena
sva-kulam sphītam
saṁhṛtya sva-kulaṁ sphītam
tyakṣyan deham acintayat
tyakṣyan deham acintayat. Ladies, please. Śrī Śukadeva brahma-śāpāpadeśena kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ
sphītam
saṁhṛtya sva-kulaṁ sphītam
tyakṣyan deham acintayat
acintayat.
apadeśena kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ saryutam sva-kulam sphītam
saṁhṛtya sva-kulaṁ sphītam
tyakṣyan deham acintayat
tyakṣyan deham acintayat. Synonyms. Śrī Śukadeva Śrī Śukadeva Gosvāmī said, brahma-śāpa, cursing by the brahmanas, apadeśena, on the plea, by such a show, kālena, by the eternal time, amogha, unfailing, vañchitaḥ, one who so desires, saṁhṛtya, closing, sva-kulam, own family, sphītam, excessively numerous, tyakṣyan, after giving up, deham, the universal form, acintayat, thought to himself. Translation purported by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. Śukadeva Gosvāmī replied, my dear king, the cursing of the brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was that the supreme desire of the Lord was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth after dispatching his excessively numerous family members. He thought to himself as follows. Purport. In this verse, the word tyakṣyan is very significant in relation to Lord Sri Krishna's leaving his body. Since he is the eternal form of existence, knowledge and bliss, his body and his self are identical. Therefore, how is it possible that he would leave his body and then disappear from the vision of the world? There is a great controversy amongst the non-devotees or Mayavadis about the mysterious disappearance of the Lord. And the doubts of those men, with the poor fund of knowledge, have been very elaborately cleared by Śrīla Jiva Gosvāmī in his Krishna Sandarbha. According to Brahma-samhita, the Lord has many forms. It is stated therein that the Lord has innumerable forms, and when he appears within the vision of the living entities, as Lord Krishna actually appeared, all such forms amalgamate with him. Besides all these infallible forms, he has his universal form as manifested before Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Here in this verse, the word sphītam is also used, which indicates that he left his gigantic universal form called the Virat Rupa, not his primeval eternal form, because there is hardly any possibility of his changing his form of Satchitananda. This simple understanding is at once realized by the devotees of the Lord, but those who are non-devotees, who perform hardly any devotional service to the Lord, either do not understand this simple fact or purposefully raise a controversy to defeat the eternity of the transcendental body of the Lord. This is due to the defect called the cheating propensity of the imperfect living entities. By practical experience also it is seen up to the present day that the Lord's transcendental form is worshipped by devotees in different temples, and all the devotees of the Lord actually realize that the form of the deity in the temple is non-different from the form of the Lord. This inconceivable performance of the internal potency of the Lord is described in Bhagavad Gita 7.25, Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya saṁhṛtya. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. In the Padma Purana it is said, Ata Shri Krishna namadi na bhavet grahyam indriya. The name and form of the Lord cannot be perceived by the material senses, but when he appears within the vision of the mundane people, he assumes the form of the Virat Rupa. This is an additional material exhibition of form and is supported by the logic of a subject and its adjectives. In grammar, when an adjective is taken away from the subject is modified. It modifies, does not change. Similarly, when the Lord quits his Virat Rupa, his eternal form does not change, although there is no material difference between himself and any one of his innumerable forms. In the 5th canto, it will be seen how the Lord is worshipped in different planets in his different forms, even now, and how he is worshipped in different temples on the earth also. Śrīla Jiva Gosvāmī and Śrīla Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur have very elaborately explained the incident of the Lord's disappearance in their commentaries quoting various authentic versions of Vedic literatures. We purposely do not include them all here to avoid an increase in the volume of this book, and probably to prevent devotees from falling asleep while listening to the purport. The entire matter is explained in Bhagavad Gita as quoted above. The Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. He always keeps himself out of the vision of the non-devotees who are devoid of love and devotion, and thus he puts them still further away from the Lord. The Lord appeared on the invitation of Brahma, who prayed before the Ikshardakashaya Vishnu, and therefore, when the Lord appeared, all the forms of Vishnu amalgamated with him, and when the mission was fulfilled, all of them disintegrated from him in the usual course. End of the purport. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We'll read the text one more time to refresh it in our memory. Śrī-śuka uvāca brahma-śāpāpadeśena kālenāmogha-vāñchitaḥ saṁhṛtya sva-kulaṁ sphītam tyakṣyan deham acintayat. Śukadeva Gosvāmī replied, "My dear king, the cursing of the brahmanas was only a plea, but the actual fact was the supreme desire of the Lord. He wanted to disappear from the face of the earth. After dispatching his excessively numerous family members, he thought to himself as follows." Hare Krishna. What he was thinking, you will learn tomorrow at the Bhagavatam class. But the subject matter of today's discussion between Śukadeva Gosvāmī and Maharaj Parikshit, which is part of the narration of conversation between Vidura and Maitreya, and that is the disappearance of the Lord. Because this is very confusing subject matter, as Bhagavatam says, vidambanam, right? That Kunti Devi explains that many things about the Lord are bewildering, inconceivable. And so how do I understand that the Lord is eternal, Satchitananda, and yet he leaves his body? Because this verse is very clearly explaining. Tyakṣyan, deham. Deham means body, and tyakṣyan means leaving. So how the Lord, who is eternal, leaves his body? And definitely we need to understand this subject matter very clearly. There is also interesting Krishna's arrangement that today is the anniversary of leaving the bodies of three very exalted Vaishnavas, as we heard this morning. Srila Jagannath Das Babaji, who is the Shiksha Guru of Srila Bhakti Thakur, whom we owe a great deal for confirming the discovery of Yoga Pit. If it would not be for Jagannath Das Babaji who told Bhaktivinoda Thakur, definitely this is the place where Lord Chaitanya appeared, we would not have Mayapur. And so Jagannath Das Babaji is very important personality in our sampradaya, very powerful. The one who could chant for 3 days and nights without sleeping and without eating, non-stop. So this kind of Babaji he was. And so his glories are unlimited. And also disappearance of Rasikananda Thakur, very exalted follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, disciple of Shyamananda Gosvāmī, the one who could preach to even elephants, not just simple elephants, but mad elephants. He could stop them, he could stop mad elephant on the track by, telling him Gauranga, and the elephant would start chanting Hare Krishna. So these were the powers of this great personality. And so their disappearance means their appearance in the spiritual world. Disappearing from material world means they go back home, back to Godhead. So we could pray for their blessings. And the disappearance, the anniversary, 22 years ago, right, of Srila Tamal Krishna Gosvāmī Maharaj. Personally, I never saw such an empowered Vaishnava in my life as Tamal Krishna Gosvāmī Maharaj. Very, very special, very close disciple of Srila Prabhupada, personally trained by him, and we owe Tamal Krishna Maharaj sitting here because it was him who struggled a lot to acquire this land for ISKCON Mayapur on Prabhupada's desire. And so he invested a lot of his Shakti into Mayapur project as well. And somehow the Lord reciprocated with him, and he departed from this world in Gauramandala. Actually, it's very interesting that he was very much attached to chanting the holy names to such an extent that every single day he would organize chanting in his room. Kirtan Mela was not established back then, but he started, he was inviting different devotees to come and do kirtans in his room, so it was very tight-knit Sangha of senior Vaishnavas who would become absorbed in chanting. And he was planning to leave to go back to his preaching field, but by the Lord's desire, he left this body at the very place where Haridas Thakur was chanting every day 300,000 names, his 192 rounds daily, which is unbelievable. If someone never tried that in one's life, one will never know how hard it is to chant 192 rounds. If you're little slow, then you will not fit into 24 hours. Then you won't have even 1 second to sleep. And so, yes, in that glorious place, which is called Fulia, so Tamal Krishna Maharaj left his body. And so these three empowered followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their departure coincided today, and we are reading about the disappearance of the Supreme Lord leaving his body, which of course is not a very palatable subject matter for devotees, but many people, they rejoice upon this subject. They feel very happy. They wish that the Lord is not there. And one famous philosopher, I think he comes from Switzerland, and his name was Nietzsche. And he started this philosophy of nihilism. Nihilism means rejecting authority, rejecting values, rejecting culture, total rejection of everything, including rejecting God. And so his famous statement was, God is dead, you don't have to worry about anything. And so it was very interesting that in his time, someone got inspired by this idea that God is dead. And interestingly enough, there are few people in this world who get this kind of inspiration. And they wrote somewhere, on a very visible place, one sentence which was saying, God, said Nietzsche, is dead. So some time have passed, and of course Nietzsche have died. And interestingly enough, he died very miserable death. His physical health was destroyed, as well as his mental health was destroyed. Some say because he excessively indulged in sex and drugs. So this kind of character is glorified by modern people. It's considered to be one of the prominent philosophers of the modern time. We can understand, Kali Yuga is exactly as Krishna describes in Bhagavad Gita, right? In chapter 16, that demons, pravritti cha nivritti cha janana vidurasura, that demons are those who have no idea what is right and what is wrong. And so they take religion to be atheism, they take to be religion, and religion they take to be atheism. Dharma is adharma and adharma is dharma. And so, after he died, Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Ashta Sakhi Vrinda Giriraj Govardhan Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. After he died, someone took that sentence and removed 2 commas and replaced it with 1 comma. And so the new sentence was saying, God said, Nietzsche is dead. So like that, people are trying to kill time and as a result time is killing them. So, but it is very interesting that many people in the world, they wish that God is dead. And they have their own personal reasons why they want him to be dead, right? Anyone has any idea why people are so eager? First of all, it's very interesting, right? As it says that if there is no God, whom atheists do not believe in, right? Because religion is also, atheism is also a kind of religion, right? But it's religion of not believing in God. And they are very enthused to convince everyone that God is dead, that there is no God. And conclusion, as Prabhupada was saying, why they try to remove God from the picture? To establish themselves, right? If God's place is vacant, and it's very prominent place, look, you know, very high up on the stage, and he is served and worshipped, right? And so it's very exciting to take up that place. This is what all the materialistic people trying to do. And so Prabhupada says, their philosophy, this is the conclusion their philosophy is leading to. There is no God, God is dead, and ultimately, you are God, I am God, we're all God, right? So this is Mayavad conclusion. And so, unfortunately, even though we formally do not subscribe to these views, but the inclinations towards that are very much prominent in our consciousness as long as we are not fully purified. That's why it says that no one has to study Mayavad philosophy very hard, because everybody is born with that. So material world means the world of demons, and that's why devotees are very rare. I heard one story how one Prabhupada disciple came to him, and there is a quote from Chaitanya Charitamrita in which Srila Prabhupada says that by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many pious and demoniac people, they joined this movement. And he became confused. And he came to Srila Prabhupada and he said, Srila Prabhupada, we understand that pious people take up to Krishna consciousness naturally because, you know, they are inclined towards that. As Bhagavad Gita describes, 4 types of pious people, they come to Krishna. But then impious people, demoniac people, they're averse to God, and so it's very rare that demoniac people would take up to Krishna consciousness. And so, but you are telling us that demoniac people also massively taking up to Krishna consciousness. So how do I understand this? And Srila Prabhupada looked at him and he said, so you think you are divine personality? It's very interesting. It's, you know, very easy for people like myself to forget where we came from. And so that, at least as far as I'm concerned, the opportunity to be in the moment is just causeless mercy of Guru Krishna and Vaishnavas. I'm thinking every morning when we chant Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu that the biggest proof of unlimited, unconditional and causeless mercy of Lord Chaitanya is that Sagara Swami is still in the movement for so many years. And so, yes, unfortunately, this tendency is very prominent, and that's why this is important subject matter for us to discuss and contemplate. And Srila Prabhupada explains, actually it's very interesting, this whole verse is unbelievable. It starts with brahma-śāpa. Brahma-śāpa means cursed, cursing by the brahmanas, and we understand that it is elaborated in the 11th canto, how, you know, the youth of the Yadus were joking with the sages, very prominent sages, including Narad Muni himself, and they dressed Samba up as a woman in sari, and they made him appear as pregnant woman, and they came to the sages and they were saying, you know, could you please tell this lady is pregnant, so whom she will deliver, boy or girl? And the sages became angry and they cursed them. They said that he will deliver a club which will be reason of the destruction of your entire dynasty. And so they were so scared, and when they lifted the sari, they saw that there is an iron club in that place, and they became very frightened. They ran to Ugrasena, they told him about what happened, and so Ugrasena, trying to prevent this curse, ordered to grind this club into the fine powder and drop it into the sea, into the ocean, and a very tiny little piece which was left from grinding was also dropped into the ocean. And so the particles of metal landed at Prabhas Kshetra shore, and then the bamboo grew out of it, which was as hard as metal. And then the little piece was swallowed by a fish, which was caught by Jara, the hunter, and he made the point for his arrow from this piece, and with this arrow he shot Krishna, and Krishna left his body. And the iron bamboos were broken by different Yadu members who went to Prabhas Kshetra on the instigation of Krishna, and there it's explained they drank wine made out of fermented rice, and they picked up a quarrel among themselves. It's been explained that first they were boasting about Kurukshetra, how great they were at Kurukshetra war, and then, you know, after boasting to each other, they started criticizing each other. You know how the drunk people, they do that, you know, they want only themselves to be glorified. And so they picked up the quarrel, and then they started breaking the bamboos, which were as hard as you know, metal poles, and they started hitting each other with these bamboo sticks, and they started killing each other. And actually they, in their drunken stupor, they started offending also Krishna and Balaram. And so Krishna and Balaram also took part in that fight. And whoever didn't kill each other was killed by Krishna and Balaram. So Krishna and Balaram finished everyone. And then Balaram sat on the shore of the ocean, and he started meditating. and it's described that, you know, he entered into himself. But his departure is elaborated. It's explained that the white snake came out of his mouth, and he, riding on this white snake, he disappeared. And then Krishna was sitting in a little forest next to the ocean, meditating, and he placed one of his foot on his knee, and then one hunter, the same hunter Jara, who caught that fish, he made the arrow from the piece of metal. You know, he used this piece of metal as point of the arrow, and then he shot that arrow into something he saw was, he thought was the deer's face, but actually this was the sole of the Lord's foot. And so he expected, you know, the deer to either fall if he shot it or run away if he missed, but neither happened, so he ran to see what happened, and then he realized that it was the Supreme Lord. Sitting peacefully and smiling, and Jara apologized profusely. He condemned himself, and he requested the Supreme Lord for liberation, which the Supreme Lord granted him. And before that he explained, don't worry, it's all part of my plan. So Acharyas are saying that his arrow could not even touch the Lord's foot, because the Lord's foot is totally transcendental. And the fact that Jara placed his head at the Lord's foot was the proof that there was no arrow. Otherwise it would be explained in Bhagavatam that first he extracted the arrow from the Lord's foot. But nothing like that ever mentioned. So the arrow didn't even touch the Lord's foot. And so, but the Lord took it as an excuse to leave this world. And so we understand that the Lord is performing his pastimes. And I think yesterday someone asked why Lord would perform such a pastime, why he would leave his body behind to give materialistic people opportunity to speculate and criticize the Lord, compare him to mortal human beings. So anyone knows the answer to that question? And the answer is very simple, because there are people who want the Lord to leave his body, wanted the Lord to leave his body. There were many demons who wanted the Lord to leave his body, who were dreaming of that, right? That there are many funny pastimes with different demons, like Jarasandha, right? He was fighting with the Lord, and the Lord was defeating him 17 times. But when he attacked on the 18th time, the Lord, because he didn't have time to fight with Jarasandha, he had to go and rescue Rukmini from the hands of Shishupal. He actually escaped from the battle. And Jarasandha was very happy. Oh, finally, I'm defeating Krishna. You know, he was beaten 17 times, so he couldn't understand that Krishna is undefeatable. And so there are many pastimes like that. You know, demons, they think that the Lord was mortal, otherwise they would not even try to attack him. Meditating on Nrsingadev, when he was fighting with Hiranyakashipu, and there was an episode when Nrsingadeva grabbed Hiranyakashipu, but then he let him go. You know, he just threw him on the side and, you know, he was playing with him. It's explained as Garuda sometimes plays with snakes, let the snake go, but then catches it again. And when the Lord let Hiranyakashipu go, Hiranyakashipu was thinking, the Lord is afraid of me. That's why he let me go. He was afraid to kill me. So that means I can kill him. And then he started attacking the Lord again. And anyone incidentally remembers how Nrsingadev defeated Hiranyakashipu? It's a very interesting episode in the 7th canto. What was the ultimate weapon by which, even before he placed him on the lap, what was the weapon the Lord used to totally defeat Hiranyakashipu, to paralyze him? Anyone remembers? It was laughter of Nrsingadev. Nrsingadev started laughing at Hiranyakashipu so loudly that Hiranyakashipu could not, you know, he had to block his ear, and he got so scared that he closed his eyes. He was totally shocked by the Lord's laughter. And this is my assumption, that why the Lord was laughing. Because he never took it seriously in the first place, right? For Hiranyakashipu it was life and death situation, but for Nrsingadev it was just a game, okay? And Nrsingadev was looking at the guy, and then he was thinking, how is he seriously fighting with me? That's hilarious. And then he started laughing. And then after, you know, so that's the ultimate weapon of the Lord. It's interesting, right? That Krishna is very attractive. The most attractive part of Krishna's body is his face, and the most attractive part of his face is his smile. So, you know, Krishna is smiling, he is laughing. Srila Prabhupada says Krishna is always happy. Even if he is fighting with demons, he is also happy. He is just enjoying, having fun. And so then, of course, he took Hiranyakashipu on his lap, and as Srila Radhanath Maharaj says, performed the first surgical operation in the history of the universe. Very successful surgical operation. The patient was liberated. So no material surgeon can achieve such good result. And so, yes, the Lord is always enjoying his pastimes, and demons are always, you know, trying to defeat the Lord, always trying to become the Lord. And so actually our whole spiritual life is the struggle against that conditioned nature we have. And one very important part of the process in this struggle is to discuss, hear the Lord's pastimes and contemplate on the Lord's pastimes, because we cannot understand the Lord's pastimes. We cannot understand Janma karma chame divyam evam yaveti tatvataha, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, text 9 of the 4th chapter. One who knows the transcendental nature of my deeds takes no further birth, Arjun, but comes instead to me. And Srila Prabhupada quotes text 25 from chapter 7, Naham prakasha sarvasya, yogamaya saṁhṛtya, which says, though I am unborn and free of any imperfection, fools can never penetrate my curtain of deception. So, in the same way as, you know, when the curtains of Radha Madhava are closed, we cannot see what's beyond the curtains. We cannot neither see the deities, we cannot see what kind of dress deities will wear, right? We don't know what will be the dress. We can only guess. And mostly we are wrong, nevertheless. And so then only when the curtains are open we can see the deities, and we don't even know who is dressing them, right? How many of you like how Radha Madhava and their associates are dressed today and in general? And how many of you know who is dressing them? We don't know. So there is one very amazing Bengali pujari who is dressing Radha Madhava for almost 40 years, every single day. Janapriya, right? His name, correct? So that's a silent hero. But it's all happening beyond the curtains, you know. And unless the curtains are open, we cannot see. So in the same way, unless the Lord and His empowered representatives like Srila Prabhupada reveal this knowledge to us, we will not know anything. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've tried to read Bhagavad Gita before I came across Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. I tried to read Bhagavad Gita without any purpose. And I tried to read Srimad Bhagavatam without any purpose. And guess what was the result? I could not understand anything at all. But only Prabhupada's purpose, they make it so crystal clear. What is the purpose of the Lord's activities, etc. So that's why we owe it to Srila Prabhupada that he opened the curtain, he removed this veil of illusion for all of us and allowed us to engage in the Lord's devotional service, from which we gaining unlimited benefit. How many of you feel that you are gaining unlimited benefit? Very well. And so what is devotional service? That is our attempt to reciprocate with the Lord's kindness, to serve Him and serve His devotees who are as kind and as magnanimous as the Supreme Lord. And this is why Srila Prabhupada wanted devotees to come together and perform devotional service together for our inspiration. And we go on parikrama so that all the Lord's pastimes would be revealed to us. And just one word about brahma-śāpa, with which this verse starts, that actually it's very heavy, the cursing of the brahmanas, and that's why we need to be very careful in the association of devotees, preaching to myself, because we can always disturb or displease some of the devotees, and instead of getting blessing, we might get cursed. And some of the difficulties we might experience in our life could be the result of that. And so I was wondering, how many would like to become free from all Brahminical curses? So there is a very exciting pastime in Chaitanya Charitamrita in that regard, how when one Brahmana, he wanted to enter Shiva Sangam to see what's going on, and he was not allowed because he was too materialistic, and he became very angry. And when he met the Lord at the banks of the Ganga, he came to him and he said, "You're not allowing me into the house to see what's going on? I am cursing you." And he took his thread, and he was so angry that he actually broke his thread. He said, "I'm cursing you so that you would never have any material happiness in your life." And the Lord was ecstatic when he heard that curse. And Krishna Das Kaviraj says, anyone who hears that pastime will become completely free from any Brahminical curses. So thank you all very much. Actually, our time is over, and I'm sure you have a lot of things to do, so if there are any questions, we can discuss it individually. Otherwise, we'll see you later. Hare Krishna, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.